There are so many questions about going to Canada. There are so many misconceptions about going to Canada. But the biggest question or the biggest concern everyone has been asking me is about work permit in Canada. EBM, can you help me to get a work in Canada? I want to go to Canada for a work. How can I go to do that? There are so many ways you can be able to do that. But today I'm going to talk through student route. How can you go to Canada and get a work, become a permanent resident through a route of international student? And this route I'm going to explain is vastly different or a little bit smoother compared to other Western countries. If you come to the United States as international student, there are so many difficulties to adjust the status, to change the status from international student, F1, to become a permanent resident. The same applies if you go to Europe, most of the European countries. But if you go to Canada as a student, I will be able to explain to you the work permit situation while you are studying, after studying, and the adjustment to become a permanent resident of Canada. I would like to give a comparison with other countries so that you can understand what I mean, because you can say, oh, EBM, you're just lying. What about people who are going to study in the US or Canada, in the US or in European countries? They are also allowed to work. Yes, remember, almost all countries, I didn't say all, almost all countries, international students are allowed to work 20 hours per week. But it changes. In the US, you are only allowed to work 20 hours per week on campus. But for instance, if you go to most of the European countries, like Norway, I'm giving an example, you are allowed to work 20 hours per week, whether it's on campus, whether it's off campus, is up to you. Welcome everyone, this is Ernest Boniface Makulu EBM, and I welcome you to my YouTube channel, EBM Scholars channel. If today is your first time to come to this wonderful channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to share this video to others. There are so many videos about immigration, there are so many videos about education opportunities, and mostly scholarship opportunities. And there are a lot of information about green card lottery, information about writing and self-publishing books through Amazon, Lulu, Barnes & Nobles, and the other major companies in the United States of America. But overall, we are talking about how can you excel your life. This is an educative channel. So please subscribe and share to your family, friends, and everyone in the social media. Okay, so let's go back. As I said, when you are going to study overseas, Western countries, a student is allowed to work 20 hours per week. That's okay. But the immigration of Canada is a different type of immigration compared to many countries. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a little bit in England, but majority of these countries, they have what is called the point-based system or the merit-based immigration. That is a very big difference between immigration in Canada, which is merit-based immigration, to the United States of America. Because immigration in Canada is more strictly on larger percent, over 60% of immigration is based on point system, merit-based. That means your education, work experience, language, age, all those kind of qualities. You get a point, you get a point, you get a point until you do get that one. And there are so many companies, they can hire you and you get directly the kind of work permit and you can be able to relocate to Canada. But in the US, it's a very complicated process. The larger part, over 65% of immigration of the United States is strictly on the family. For instance, I'm originally from Africa, but I'm a US citizen. I can sponsor my mother, I can sponsor my father, I can sponsor my siblings. So it's more kindly supporting that particular area. So that is something you need to know. But on the other side, why am I talking more about students? You know, it is possible. I don't say it's not possible, and there are so many people. You can apply a job direct to go to Canada to work, get a work permit. You can do that, and many people have done that. I have a colleague, Tanzanian, who was in LA. We were together in California, and he applied direct to Canada. He did that. There is another person, he was in San Diego. He moved with his family, but he did through express entry. But overall, what I'm trying to explain is you can apply a job direct to Canada, but you have to be careful not to go into these kind of scams. If you're using the agents, there is a way on how you can check the agents, how you can track if these are trusted agents or something like that. Because most of these agents are listed into the government websites. So you can be able to track whether these are legitimate or not. So don't tell you, okay, what about this name of agents? Is it true or not? Yeah, so you have to be careful. But I'm talking about students and how students in Canada, especially international students, can use the opportunity. You can go to Canada and use the opportunity as a student and get work permit and become a permanent resident. And this is the very big advantage also for the married people. So if you are married, you want to compare, I go to study in US or should I go to study in Canada? Should I go to study in England or should I study in Canada? Should I study in any European country in general or should I study in Canada? So I will be giving extra bonus explanation for people who are married and how that one will be able to help. So there are two ways you can go as a student overall. You can go as what we call self-financing student to Canada, but also you can go to Canada as international student. So, as a scholarship international student, I'm sorry for confusion. So if you go as a self-financing student, that means you'll be able to pay on your own. And that's where I'm telling people, why are you paying over $30,000 to come to study in the US? Because if you study in the US, when you finish, you will get 1 year of work permit, optional practical training, OPT, then game over. To convert, to adjust to become permanent residents is a very complicated process. Maybe unless otherwise the company you are working with likes you, has to change your visa to become professional working visa, what you call H1, H1B. Then from there they have to sponsor you. So it's a long process. But in Canada, these are the ways. First of all, you can get a work permit, and if you want to become a permanent resident, and also if you want to become a US citizen in Canada as route as a student. So number one, whether you are paying for yourself or you have scholarships. And yes, by the way, there are so many scholarships. I've already made a video about scholarships opportunity for international students to go to study in Canada. Go and check that video. So as long as you're an international student, you are allowed to work 20 hours per week. The purpose of 20 hours, most of these Western countries, is for you also to concentrate with the studies. They don't want you to go there and you strictly study and you forget that the purpose of going there was to study. So you go there and you just start doing just job instead of study. So that's why they want you, if you're as an international student, you need to do part-time work. Part-time means 20 hours per week. Full-time, 40 hours per week. Some companies 36, whatever, but average is 40 hours per week. That means 8 hours per day for 5 days. That is for people who are full-time. But you'll be doing part-time as an international student, 20 hours per week. Average 4 hours per day for 5 days, Monday to Friday, or you are going 2 days, but as long as 20 hours, you are allowed to do that. So that's number one. So if that's number one, then let's go to number two. So by default, as international student, you'll be allowed to work. You do some paperwork basically, but you'll be allowed to work 20 hours per week. So the bonus point is this way. This 20 hours is everywhere, but what is different from Canada from other countries? In Canada, if you are married, this is the bonus part. If you are married and you go with your spouse will be given a full-time work permit. You see? So for people who are married, Canada is the prime, the best destination. If you go to Canada, you are married, your spouse will be given a work permit. Your international student will be working 20 hours per week. Your spouse will be working full-time. Work permit will be given. So find any way, whether by scholarship or by paying for yourself, go to Canada. That will be one of the way, a shortcut to me of becoming a permanent resident down the road. Because if, especially for married people, because if you're married, your spouse is, let's say you and your spouse both have bachelor degree, and you go there, you'll be working part-time yourself, who is an international student. Your spouse will be working full-time. If your spouse, let's say your master's is 2 years, or you're doing PhD for 4 years. If you're doing 4 years program, while after 2 years your spouse is working for full-time, your spouse, by work experience of 2 years full-time in Canada, can get a permanent resident. You see? And you can be under the umbrella of your spouse. That's number one. But number two is, while you are studying, so when you say you are going to pay for your own, even if you don't have enough money to start with, you are working part-time, 20 hours. Your spouse, for the married people, this will be good, is working full-time, 40 hours per week. So husband and wife, you are working 60 hours per week. So if you take 60 hours per week, and you are going to do, let's say, $15 hour job or $20 hour job, you are going to make $4,000 at least, going to $5,000 per month, which is very enough for you to pay for your education, to start with paying for your education and surviving the life of Canada. So you have to consider that one. Put that aside. Let's go to another point. So, while you're an international student, when you finish, whether you are single or whether you are married, you have what you call post-education work permit. In US, we call OPT, optional practical training. So in US, in the United States, you are given 1 year for non-technical programs. And if you're taking the STEM, the science, technology programs, you are given 1 year and 6 months, 1 year and a half. But if you go to England, for instance, in July 2021, they have updated that will give you, if you're doing master's, they'll give you 2 years work permit. If you're doing PhD, you'll give in 3 years. But basically, it used to be 1 year also. And you have to get a job first. It used to be that way. But now in England, you'll be given work permit even if you haven't got the job. But what Canada is offering is vastly different. If you are doing bachelor degree for 4 years, so the work permit, the post-study work permit is equal. The duration is equal to the duration of study. If you are doing bachelor degree for 4 years, you will be given 4 years of work permit. If you are doing masters for 2 years, you will be given 2 years work permit. If you are doing PhD for 4 to 5 years, you will be given work permit of 5 years. What does that mean to you? What does that translate to you? So apart from working as part-time the time you are studying, when you finish, you are given 4 years of work permit, automatic. Obviously, you have to apply, but it's automatic. You will be given. You are not going to be denied. That is easier process than you applying a work permit, getting a job, the job to sponsor you, to get all the documents from your own country. But if you are there as a student, you finish your studies, you will be given a full-time work permit depending on the duration of your study. So don't go to Canada and study 1 year program. Find at least a minimum 2 years program so that you can have longer time to do that. So if you have a longer time to do that, what will be the impact of it? So let's say you have 4 years. As a person who studied and finished his studies in Canada, you will be having different paths. One of the paths will be as an international student who studied and already you are working in Canada. Let's say you have 4 years of work permit. You already work as part-time, 3 years. And then you have 1 year, 2 years of professional full-time work experience of Canada. There is a special route for international students in Canada to be given permanent residence in Canada. So they have their own route. But in addition to that, that international student can also apply for the express entry, the famous express entry. You can apply that one because you will be having even more points because you have maybe, let's say, master's degree and your education is from Canada, so extra point. You speak English, obviously, or you're adding French, if you have. Your age, you'll be adding points. But your work experience, you'll be having work experience from your own country, but the best part is work experience from Canada itself. So you'll be having more points and extra points for you to be able to adjust or get the permanent residence of Canada through express entry. So Canada has multiple paths of international student to become a permanent resident. While you finish as international student, by your education in Canada, they prefer you to stay in Canada because you have the culture, you have a little bit of work experience in Canada. It is easier for you to be successful in Canada than a brand new person to come from another country and start their life direct. You see the difference? So you're already in the system. Then if you have work experience in Canada already, because you finish the studies, while you are a student and the finishing studies, you get extra points you can use to apply other paths in the provinces or in the federal government of Canada, but also you can be able to apply for the express entry and to be able to be given multiple points or more points because you have work experience in Canada and education from the same country, from Canada, and with living cultural experience of Canada. So to me, Canada is the prime destination. So despite while you are looking about, let me look to find a job in Canada direct, while you are looking for those opportunities, for the people who have opportunity to go to study in Canada, use the route of students. As international students, you will be having more opportunities to go to Canada. And for the parents, if you are going to pay for your education of your child, please consider people to go to study in Canada than coming to study in England if you are paying for them, or to go to study in Sweden or other countries. Canada will offer more opportunities post-studies for yourself, or if it's the parent, and you can be able to apply for that. So those are the few things I want to share about Canada, work permit, work opportunities in Canada, but if you are going as an international student. There are other videos I've talked, and I'll be talking more about going to Canada direct for work, direct, not just, oh, let me go to as a student, but my ultimate end goal is to stay in Canada and work in Canada legally. So if you go as a student, I say there is so many legal paths. You can be able to get full-time work permit, and down the road to be given permanent residence of Canada through multiple paths which have been given by the government, both in the provinces and also to the federal government. They have so many jobs so that you can be able to transition and do that. So thank you so much, but don't forget to subscribe. This is EBM Ernest Boniface Makulilo, and the YouTube channel is youtube.com/EBMSCHOLARS.